What's up, my friends? My name is Benny, and you are now in the Chop Shop. Well, actually, we're in the middle of my kitchen, and man, I just want to give a quick shout out for everybody who's watching. Yes, I said watching this right now. Think I figured out a way to do a video version of the podcast that doesn't require a lot of manpower. Something that only I can do. I'll be able to do it by myself, and something that doesn't require a whole lot of equipment up front. So, man, if you're watching this, thank you so much for joining me. If you're listening to this, thank you so much for joining me. Again, it means the world to me that you guys are supporting and all your messages and words of encouragement. It means the world to me. As always, the Chop Shop is all about empowering, encouraging men to commit, go all in on Jesus, the family, and the church. And I'm so glad that you guys have joined me this week. Real quick, before I get into this week's episode, I just wanted to share it off the bat that I started an Instagram page this past week. So you can now find us on Instagram. You just got to search the Chop Shop _pod. That's at the Chop Shop _pod. And we're going to be posting clips on there, posting different kinds of content. I say we, but it's me. So I'm going to be posting different kinds of clips on there and different content for Instagram and podcast things and stuff like that. So go follow me there because that page will be used for like podcast. And I can't wait to see you guys there. Drop me a message. Let me know what you're thinking. If you want us to touch on a certain subject or topic, love to hear from you guys. So you can find us there at the Chop Shop _pod. Before I move any further, last week's episode was amazing. Excuse me as I take a drink. Yes, if you're watching, you can see that my drink is pink. This is a sparkling berry lemonade that my wife got picked up from Trader Joe's. And it's actually pretty tasty. I'm usually not a fan of like strawberry or any kind of like lemonade, but this one's actually not too bad. Not too sweet. That's the thing. Or too tardy. I can't do both of those. So this is pretty good. So thanks, Trader Joe's. But last week's episode was amazing. Like, I had my buddy Lanny on, and he shared some amazing stories about his dad. And I don't know about you, but I felt like I was able to glean and learn a lot from Lanny's father, even though I've only had a few interactions with him. And it was an amazing episode, him just sharing stories and things that he learned from his dad through his childhood. And man, such an encouraging story. And I'm like super honored and proud and happy to share that episode has gained the most listeners than any other episode that I've done so far. And I just wanted to give a huge shout out and thank you to Lanny for just coming on, being vulnerable, sharing his story, sharing his dad with us, honestly. And so you can go back, if you have not yet, check out the episode. It's called Show Up or Make It Up. And it's available on audio only. This is our first, episode that we're doing visually. So on video. So all the other ones are just audio, right now. So, but go back and listen to it. It is worth a listen. It's not too long. And Lanny just sharing stories about his dad and what he's learned and what he's applying in his fatherhood, in his family. And it's just very encouraging, a lot to learn and take away. And it kind of, I don't know about you guys, but it really reprioritizes, what it is to be a man, what it is to be a father, what it is to be like those things, and so I would encourage you to go back and check it out. So I was kind of like thinking through, okay, this week, like, what can I share? What can I talk about? And excuse me one sec. And as I'm doing this in my kitchen, my wife is in the room. My kids are asleep, so I have the baby monitor over there because it's my job to make sure that the baby doesn't wake up. So I'm really excited, but at the same time, I'm trying to keep my voice not too, loud, trying to keep it somewhat down so that the baby doesn't wake up. And because I can get kind of like boisterous, and so trying to. But guys, I'm excited. This is really cool. I'm so glad I'm doing video on this. But yeah, so I was thinking through like, okay, this week, like, some things happened this week, if I were to be honest with you. Some good things, some bad things. Guys, within a matter of a day, maybe 2 days at the most, there was a moment where I felt like I was especially after last week's episode with Lanny and him talking a lot about being there and showing up and being present. There was a moment that I felt that I applied that advice. I applied those things in at home, and I was like, man, look at me. And basically what it was is, actually, I got it right here. The boys had their Valentine's Day, party or whatever. They don't really do a party, I guess, and so they had to decorate their own boxes. And this is Mateo's, and what he wanted to do was basically put stickers all over a box. That's all he wanted to do. But the way the box was shaped and everything, he wanted help. He needed help. So I sat down with him and Abel, and actually was able to help him cut out the box, prepare the box, and then he put all the stickers on it. And I was, as small of a project as it was, I was super happy and proud of myself, because I was like, I took time to sit down and be with my boys and help them, right? And participate in this thing that meant a lot to them, And so I was like, yeah, man, if Lanny saw me right now, he'd be so proud of me. And guys, I ended up doing that, and I think I had a meeting that night, and I left for a few hours and came back, and I went from feeling like top of the mountain to bottom of the valley. And and not that I deserve to feel that way, but my wife and I had to talk about some things that I've been just dropping the ball on, to be honest. And my wife just gave me some hard truth and things that I couldn't disagree with. I couldn't say no, that's not true. I couldn't. Guys, she was telling me hey, this, that, and I was just sitting there oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. And the one thing she brought up was what kind of example do you think this is leaving for our kids? And I was like, yeah, you're right. And then she said, well, what kind of example do you think this is leaving for our daughter? And, and my wife reminded me, when our daughter looks at you, you're the example of the type of man she should be going for. And that hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm a pretty and I feel like I do. I feel like I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I'm not afraid to cry around people. I do try to hold it in, but I can be emotional as well. And when she said that, it kind of hit me really hard. I was just man, that. It was one of those you had to take a big deep breath and just inhale and exhale, and then just kind of stand there and take it like a man. I don't know how else to say it. Just own it. Take that ownership of it and say, yeah, I've dropped the ball in this area and I'm not setting a good example. And it was crazy because a few hours before I was man, I'm doing great. I'm taking the advice of somebody that I respect, right? Lanny came on the episode and shared advice with all of us to be present. I was doing that. And then hours later, being reminded or being shown hey, you're dropping the ball over here. I can't do this without you over here. And it's oh my gosh, you're 100% right. And I was thinking a lot, and I know I've mentioned that we have a dad group at our church, and we're going over this book called Dad Tired and Loving It. And it's a great book. I recommend it. We've gone through 3 chapters so far, but it's great because this dad group has kind of become kind of a support group. And it's funny because I think all of us know, none of us know all the answers. We don't all, there isn't one guy in here that has is the doctor of parenthood and raising kids. But what we do have is our experiences, and we're coming together and saying hey, this is what I went through. Well, this is what I went through. And the other cool thing is that dads are in different stages. So we got some who have babies, some who have mine who are younger kids, some that even have teenagers or those who are coming into teenage years. It's kind of a cool mastermind. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but it's kind of a cool mastermind. Everyone's sharing a little bit that honestly can help and apply to the next guy, and really kind of just feed into each other. And so we had an amazing group this week, And to be honest with you, like I went into that group and I was pretty exhausted and I was tired, but I wanted to go because I really enjoy it. And I came home and I was just processing our conversation that night. I was processing like what we talked about in the group internally, like for me, like for what I was thinking, what I was feeling, what I was, going through. And I got home and I sat, on the couch and my wife was next to me and I was just, and usually I come home and I just kind of share like how the group went and some cool things that I felt like, I don't ever share with her about the other guys. It's more about me and like what it is that I am getting at, what it is that I'm learning and what's being revealed to me. And I remember telling her, and I told her, I think I know why I've dropped the ball in that area. And so, like I've shared before, that I feel, patience is something that I feel like is something I'm really having to work hard at. I feel like I have a short fuse sometimes with my kids and even with my wife. Like I have a short fuse, and especially when it comes to things not going the way that I thought they would. And so I think what I've done over time is to avoid being a jerk, to avoid being angry, to avoid yelling, or to avoid being, being the bad guy. Like, I think I've almost disconnected myself at moments in our home where I completely disconnect from what's happening at home so that I don't, get angry. I know this sounds horrible, but this is just honestly like what I was thinking through the other day. And then all of a sudden, like I was saying this and I was like, it was one of those moments where I was processing it. And at the same time as I was saying it, it was being revealed to me, hey, this is what you're doing. This is what's happening. And immediately, like I started to tear up, and my wife was kind of like, she noticed I got really quiet. She looked over and she's like, and then like all I could tell her was, I just now got that, and I immediately those tears just started flowing out. And she was like, well, what are you feeling right now? What do you're emotional, like why? And I told her like, it's crazy. I didn't know that. I was completely blind to that the reason why I'm failing and dropping the ball in this area is because I'm almost like trying to protect myself or trying to avoid having to, hey, here's a weak area. Like I'm trying to avoid having to try, if that makes any sense. Like my area, like I need patience, right? Like this is the area that I need to work on and to focus on, to pray on, to work on. And I thought it was funny, right? Like God, I do think there's some element where God will give us patience, but I think it's more the opportunity to be patient. So patience isn't necessarily God's endowment on me. Patience is more of a restraint, more of a something that I work out, that I restrain, that I self-control. Patience is more my responsibility, and God provides the opportunity to be patient, and then I'm working that muscle to be patient, if that makes sense. So but because it's an area that I struggle in when it comes to being a dad and being a husband, and in other areas as well, like I'm like, well, I really struggle in that area. So maybe if I pull back, maybe if I disconnect, I don't even have to deal with it. But what was happening is that as I was doing that, sure, I didn't have to deal with it as much. I still do, but I wasn't as much. There were these other things that were connected and aligned with that. And all of a sudden I'm failing at those things as well. And so as I'm telling my wife this, it was almost like a confession slash like God just like revealing and opening my eyes like, hey, yo, bro, this is what you're doing. And I told her like it was a weird feeling I was feeling. I was emotional, I was crying, but it was like a it was like a happy cry. It was like a man, like God, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for showing me what I'm doing and showing me what is happening, like why these things are happening. Now I know I can't disconnect. And as much as honestly, like I sometimes fear and get afraid of having to deal with this area of my life that I'm weak at. It's necessary. I got to, because if I don't, and if I try and avoid it, like I'm going to fail in all these other areas as well. And this kind of just reminded me of this verse in Psalms 139. It's pretty well known. 139 verse 23. Psalm 139 verse 23 says, "Search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts, and see if there is any grievous way in me, and lead me in the way of everlasting." And that to me, that's like, oh, that was me. That was me. All that processing real time. And like, it was almost like I was, God, like, look at me, tell me what it is that is not right. And then God just like comes and like shows me this, like, hey, this is what it is. And all of a sudden I was like, man, like, and I agree with this 100%. Like, search me, oh God, know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts, and see if there's any grievous way in me. But don't just call it out in me, God. Don't just show me what it is. Don't just tell me, yo, this is what you're doing. This is where you're failing. But then lead me in the way of everlasting. And now, because God has revealed this to me, and now I can say, oh, okay, well, now this is connected to this. Like God is, I'm telling you guys, as soon as like I realized this and it was revealed to me, like I'm like, oh, like all of a sudden there was a peace in me, like, hey, like it's gonna be okay. Like, you know, you now see it, you figured it out, you now understand what you're doing. Like, yes, you are trying to avoid, this area, but it's affecting these other areas in your life that are not good for you, that are bringing harm to you, that are making things difficult for you and your family, your wife. So you can't avoid this one area, because at the end of the day, all the areas are connected. They're all together. They're all one. So you have to address each area, even the ones that we aren't good at and we're weak at. We still got to try. There still has to be a fighting spirit in us that says, you know what, this is a weak area for me, but I'm going to try. And if patience is something you struggle with, and like me, then hey guys, even though we struggle with it, we have to try. We can't avoid it. We won't be better at it if we try and avoid it. We have to try. Patience, again, I don't feel like it's something that God like endows you with. Like, I don't think it's like I think it can be, it's a blessing. It is a gift. It's something that is learned. It's something that over time is developed, just like other spiritual gifts as well. But I think when I hear the word patience, I feel the weight of that on me. Not like, well, only God can give me that. No, like I feel like there is some weight on me as well for that. And so if patience is something you struggle with, like me, guys, at the end of the day, I want to tell you that Jesus is the way. He's the way to everlasting. He will guide you and lead you to everlasting, that he will help you in those areas. And this isn't just for dads or for husbands, but if you're just a guy who struggles with patience, if you just struggle with things not going your way, if you struggle with things going the other way, if you struggle with just having a hard time like going with the flow of life, because life is unpredictable. Things happen your way one day and then the next they don't, or a minute they do and the next they don't. Like, I want you to know that patience isn't something that we avoid. It's something that we have to go in head first. It's something that we have to work on continuously. It's the self-restraint, the self-control, the controlling of our emotions and our thoughts. And it's not us controlling them. It's more, because I honestly, I can't control them and you can't control them either. It's more like us giving them up to God and say, God, here are my thoughts. Here is my heart. Search my heart. Search my thoughts. Is there anything wrong with me? And if there is, lead me the way out. Lead me to the way of everlasting. God, like, this frustrates me. It gets me mad every single time, but I'm going to hand this to you. And even feeling frustrated, I'm just going to control my emotions. I'm going to control my what here, I'm going to control this because this is mine. This is what you've given me to kind of oversee, to lead. I'm going to control this. I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to control this. And in return, you're going to help me be better. You're going to help me be more patient. You're going to help me not have a short fuse. You're going to give me a longer lifeline, if you will. You're going to give me the ability to inhale and exhale and move forward and not be affected. And remember that we're loved, that we're your children, that you're with us every step of the way. And so I just wanted to share that because I know that sometimes for us guys, it's kind of hard to like think, well, what is wrong with me? Or where is this stemming from? Where is the root of this? Or why is it that this is messed up? But I don't understand like where that's coming from. Well, sometimes if you just sit and you breathe, maybe you talk to somebody that, you know, is really close to you and knows you and you trust, God will reveal it to you. God will help you see what it is that you're missing, your blind spot. We all have them. Mine may be patience. Mine may be other areas of my life, and there are other areas of my life. But that's why you lean on the person that knows you well, and whether that's your wife or a friend, a leader, like a parent, like someone that you trust that knows who you are. You lean on them to tell you your blind spots. You lean on them to say, hey, this area over here, like you're dropping the ball. You're not helping me out. You know, I'm thankful that my wife did. Like that was a hard conversation. I don't want to be in that situation again. I don't want to feel like that again. But it's on me, right? It's on me to not avoid these areas, even if I am weak in them. So I wanted to share that. I hope that blesses you. And, you know, it's something real. And I remember as soon as it was done, I told my wife, I'm like, well, I think I have this week's podcast episode because I want this to be real. I want this to be like what I'm experiencing or what I've experienced. That's why I bring guys to share their story. They share their story because that's what they went through. This isn't us talking about things we don't know. It's us talking about things that we're living or we have lived. And I hope that is for somebody else out there, just like it was for me. But I want this to be real. I want this to be a blessing, but I want this to be real. Like I want this to come from me in my life. And so, guys, listen, thank you so much for joining me on this week's episode. I'm glad that I hope this video thing ends up like I'm sitting here recording, thinking in my mind, I hope that I pressed the record button. I think I'm pretty sure I did. So I hope this comes out great, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Right now it's under my name. So if you just look up at Benny C, all one word with a capital C, you'll find my page. My picture will be on there, so you'll see that it's me. This is where I'll be posting those as well. But if not, hey, listen to Apple Podcasts, listen to Spotify. I'm going to try and get the video up on Spotify as well. We'll see if it goes through. But guys, as always, thank you so much for listening. Leave a review on the podcast, like and subscribe to the channel. Wow, can I say that now? I guess I can because this is now a video. Leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you guys. Until next time, peace out.